It's finally Texas OU week and it's time to head to the Cotton Bowl. How is the OU offense performing under Jeff Lebby? Why is the Sooner defense struggling? And most importantly, can the Longhorns return the golden hat to Austin on Saturday? After the show, head over to Inside Texas to stay locked in with your favorite team. Behind the scenes info, recruiting updates, and excellent analysis dropping daily. Make sure to subscribe to InsideTexas.com today. Link in the description. Texas has faced disappointment early into the season, but so has Oklahoma. How will both teams respond when they meet head-to-head in Dallas? Without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, OU had an absurd amount of players leave the game with injury versus TCU. Some were precautionary and others were more significant. At the time of writing this video, it's impossible to know who will be good to go and who won't. So I'm going to break down the OU team assuming all will return so we can prepare for the best version of the Sooners. Jeff Lebby's scheme in its perfect form is an up-tempo, RPO-centric, balanced offense looking to take explosive play-action deep shots off the back of their rushing attack. But things aren't perfect at Oklahoma, and Lebby is struggling to field a consistent offense early into year one. The Sooner offense is successful on just 46% of their plays, for 7th in the Big 12. Lebby brought in a former player during his time at UCF in Dillon Gabriel, and he was the victim of a dirty hit versus TCU that appeared to knock him out cold. Concussions are brain injuries and should be treated seriously, so we don't know if he will play, especially in light of Tua's incident this past week. Ideally, he would, since the remainder of the OU QB room is nowhere near his ability level, and not playing Gabriel would leave OU non-competitive, apart from a one-dimensional run game. But let's break down Gabriel as if he was the for sure starter this week. Dillon Gabriel is a good, not great quarterback at this point. He's tied for first with 5 other quarterbacks with 11 touchdowns on the season, averaging a third best 9.1 yards per attempt. He's graded as the 3rd overall passer in the Big 12. But 4 of his 5 games, he has faced bottom half defenses, with 2 of those being ranked 115th or worse. And I'm not mad at him for doing well against bad defenses, he's supposed to do that. But it's yet to be seen what he can do against better teams consistently. He did do a good job against K-State's defense, so that's a positive data point in his favor. The numbers are solid, but they don't account for his situational ability. He's lacking in consistency, especially in clutch moments. He's posted a 64.2% completion percentage for 8th in the Big 12. He appears to do well as a front runner, but when it's crunch time, he has a tendency to overthrow receivers due to inconsistent mechanics. And Lebby calls a lot of easier underneath passes or RPOs, so he's effective short, completing 85% for 2nd best in the league. But when the concepts require longer dropbacks and reading through progressions, he struggles. He's 7th in deep passing, only completing 39%, and he's 6th at the intermediate range, completing just 61%. Gabriel does have some ability with his legs, though he's not a super fast guy. He has 25 rushing attempts on the season, averaging 5 yards per carry. Some are designed and others are him scrambling to voided space when the receivers are covered up. But for a guy with functional mobility, he's oddly not good at avoiding pressure in the pocket, with the 2nd highest pressure to sack rate in the Big 12 at 27%. So pocket presence is an issue. But the most important aspect of Gabriel's game is that he has yet to throw an interception. He's doing a great job of protecting the ball. So as of right now, Gabriel isn't losing OU games, but he hasn't shown that he can take over games yet either. On the surface, OU appears to have a decent pass blocking group, ranked 5th in the Big 12 in offensive line pass blocking efficiency. Right tackle Wanya Morris is 8th, left tackle Anton Harrison is 11th, and right guard Chris Murray is 22nd. So that's 3 starters in the top 25. But that's actually more scheme-based since OU runs a lot of quick passing concepts to get the ball out. If we look at their pass blocking ability from a true pass set, removing passes that are play action, screens, under 2 seconds, etc., then OU only has 2 guys in the top 25, with McCade Metallier at 19th and Chris Murray at 25th. So if you make them hold the ball and face a true pass rush, their performance drops significantly, and both tackles no longer make the top 25. As far as receiving weapons, Oklahoma has a decent group of receivers, but it's top-heavy. Slot Marvin Mims is the real deal, ranking as the 2nd overall receiver in the Big 12. He's their most utilized as well, with 34 targets on the year, posting an excellent 20 yards per reception, ranking 4th in the league. He can attack you all over the field with an even distribution of targets coming from deep, intermediate, and short. Mims is a dynamic number 1 receiver that Lebby force feeds play after play. Then you have their number 2 guy at the 6'3", 205-pound boundary receiver in Theo Weiss, and he's yet to make an impact, ranking 23rd out of 35 Big 12 receivers. He has a poor 58% catch rate, but when he does connect, he has the 7th highest yards per reception at 18. Weiss is heavily utilized in that intermediate range of 10 to 19 yards, with 42% of his targets coming in this part of the field. Watch out for him creeping behind the second level and exploiting the middle of the field on long crossers. His only 2 touchdowns have come from that range. Then you have the sophomore in Jalil Farouk. He's ranked 33rd out of 35 receivers, but he's young. He struggles with consistency as well, only catching 55% of his 22 targets. But he is OU's most targeted deep receiver at 36%, and he can do some damage, ranked as the 5th best deep threat in the league. Next is their 4th option in Drake Stoops, who has been playing at OU since the invention of the telephone. He's their highest graded receiver in short yardage at the number 5 spot, but he's only had 13 targets on the year. But you can't forget about the tight end in the pass game as well. Braden Willis is the 3rd most targeted tight end in the Big 12 and leads the league with 4 touchdowns. You can lose him in coverage for big scores. He's ranked 5th overall out of 10 receiving tight ends. So overall, the wide receiver room isn't as productive as it has been at the height of Lincoln Riley's offensive success. Marvin Mims is a baller, but Weiss and Farouk are bottom half in production currently. OU is actually best in the run game, averaging 3.5 line yards per carry for 3rd in the Big 12. They are good at picking up tough yards in short yardage situations, with an 81% power success rate, also good for 3rd in the league. And they're having consistent success on 47% of their run plays for 4th overall. Right tackle Wanya Morris is the number 1 run blocker in the conference. Left guard McCade Metallier is 18th, and right guard Chris Murray is 20th, with the worst OU run blocker, left tackle Anton Harrison, being 36 out of 57 total run blockers. So the OU offensive line is a top to bottom solid unit in the run game, and due to their ability, the running backs get to make plays. Eric Gray has been far more productive this season than last, even though he suffered an injury in the TCU game. He's currently ranked as the 2nd best running back in the league, averaging 7 yards per carry with 8 runs over 15 yards. Gray can make quick cuts and accelerate through the gaps, so he's a home run threat. He's most effective running off the tackles on outside runs. He's not a bruiser and benefits from wide open holes often, only averaging 2.8 yards after contact per attempt for 10th in the league. So if he can't juke you, you can get him on the ground consistently. Gray does give you an added boost in the pass game as well, as the number 1 receiving back with 15 targets on the season. The number 2 back is a bigger dude in the 6', 220-pound Marcus Major, who was out for the TCU game due to injury. He's not shifty like Gray and more likely to opt to run you over. This lack of flair results in a low elusivity rating, ranking 14th out of 21 players. But overall, he's ranked as the 11th back in the Big 12. Due to Major's absence, OU utilized 3rd-string running back and talented freshman Javonte Barnes. Nice-looking runner with equal parts power and agility. He's doing decent in his first year, averaging 5 yards per carry. But overall, he's ranked 19th out of 21 running backs. Production isn't there yet, but he does have a bright future. The keys for the Texas defense are fairly straightforward. OU is actually best in the run, and we have displayed really good run defense through all of our games, so shutting down that major aspect of the OU attack will be key even against a good run-blocking offensive line. In the past, continue to play tighter coverage so Dillon Gabriel doesn't have as easy access throws to keep the offense moving forward. The offense struggles to pass block when Dillon Gabriel drops back and he's suboptimal in completing anything over 10 yards. Make him hold the ball and go through his reads, and the offense tends to stall. The DBs need to remain aware of Mims as the offensive safety net. Force Gabriel to target less productive receivers through pre-snap alignment or bracketing. The OU offense is decent as the 4th best in the league, but it's nowhere near the elite tier of Riley's best offenses because Levy is so early into his tenure. Though the OU offense has its own issues, they aren't the reason for the losses. OU's biggest struggles have come from the other side of the ball. But before we hit the defense, you need to check out Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a US-based daily fantasy sports app where you can make college football player projections all season long. How does it work? You select 2 to 5 players and choose more or less on their projections. It could be passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, and more. And if those players score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. Just hop on the PrizePicks app or website, go to the college football tab, and check out the player projections. It's a smooth process where you can make your entries in 60 seconds or less with fast withdrawals. It's that easy. As a first-time depositor, use promo code TexasHomer, and you will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. That's double your money up to $100 for your first time. So sign up for PrizePicks, use promo code TexasHomer at sign up, and add even more excitement to your game day. Link in the description. Brent Venables' defenses at Clemson were elite, but that wasn't built in a year. So far, it's been a rough go, ranking as the 9th overall defense in the Big 12. The numbers are bad, allowing 44% of all plays to be successful for second to last in the league. In total defense, they are 108th in the country, allowing 423 yards per game. And it's not a single defensive phase that is to blame. They are ineffective across the board. Let's look at run stopping first. The OU run defense is the worst in the Big 12, granting opposing offenses success on 46% of runs. They have the third worst stuff rate, meaning they rarely tackle running backs behind the line of scrimmage. But what's interesting is OU's defensive interior guys actually perform pretty well. And we'll look at a majority of their depth since interior guys sub so much. Oklahoma has 2 top 10 guys, and starting nose Jeffrey Johnson ranked as the second best run stopper, and second string tackle Jalen Redmond is ranked 7th. First string defensive tackle Jordan Kelly is 15th, second string nose Isaiah Coe is 21st, with third string defensive tackle Josh Ellison rounding out the group at 24th. So the big boys are actually getting it done, but there's a disconnect with the wider defensive scheme. Venables opts to use a 3-down line often, and this inherently limits the amount of interior defensive linemen on the field, willingly handicapping their best group opting to play with more DB types. I would choose to play 4-down against Texas. The problems begin to arise at the edge spot. First string defensive end Ethan Downs is the 19th graded run stopper, and the end opposite him, Reggie Grimes, is 24th out of 31 edge players. Then moving to the second level, at their hybridized linebacker/nickel position, the Cheetah, Deshaun White is ranked 12th. Will linebacker Danny Stutzman is 15th, and Mike linebacker David Agwebu is 29th out of 30 total players. So both pure off-ball linebackers really struggle to clamp down on running backs. The secondary doesn't take any of the pressure off, with their best run defender in the secondary being second string strong safety Trey Morrison at 11th. For the starters, free safety Key Lawrence is 28th, starting corner Jaden Davis is 47th, and the other starting corner Woody Washington is 49th, with strong safety Billy Bowman rounding out the group as the 58th graded run-stopping DB in the conference. The run defense, besides the defensive interior, is so low performing it has to be a coaching issue. They struggle to find their run fits, they miss assignments, and they're the worst tackling defense in the entire Big 12. These issues rarely get resolved within a single season, though some performances will naturally be better than others. Unfortunately, the OU pass rush is just as ineffective, ranked 9th out of 10 teams. There are no top 10 players at the defensive interior, with Jordan Kelly ranked 11th and Jalen Redmond ranked 25th as the only interior guys to make the top 25. At edge, Ethan Downs performs pretty well at 7th, but Reggie Grimes ranks 29th out of 34 edge pass rushers. On the second level, Cheetah Deshaun White is the first graded pass rusher in the league, but Will linebacker Danny Stutzman is 11th, and Mike David Agwebu is dead last at 15th. So once again, the group from defensive interior to edge to linebacker are missing difference makers besides the one bright spot production-wise in Cheetah Deshaun White, but he weighs 220 pounds and has to avoid offensive tackles versus taking them head on. The big boys do very little in terms of putting stress on quarterbacks consistently, and linebackers can't get home on their attacks. So what about pass coverage? Is that better? I mean, yeah, technically, but it's still bottom tier with 42% of pass plays being successful for 8th in the Big 12. Deshaun White is the best of the linebackers in his hybridized cheetah position, ranked 15th. Then the true off-ball linebackers fall off a cliff once again, with Will Danny Stutzman at 31st and Mike David Agwebu ranking 33rd out of 33 players. Venables has to make changes at the linebacker position because that group is awful currently. So it's likely time to try some new combinations like a young player and Jaron Kanik. In the secondary, there's some good news with starting strong safety Billy Bowman graded as the best pass defending DB in the entire league. But then another huge drop-off with starting quarter Jaden Davis at 36th, free safety Key Lawrence at 37th, and the other starting corner, Woody Washington, at 54th. So besides Billy Bowman, there's no one even close to doing a good job in coverage. From top to bottom, the OU defense is ineffective, 10th in run defense, 9th in the pass rush, and 8th in coverage. Players are struggling to truly understand their role in the wider scheme. For the Texas offense, there's no question we have the best running back room in the Big 12. The issue is our offensive line. We're last in the Big 12 in run blocking. We struggle across the board, but particularly at inside runs. Bijan and Roschon always find a way to break off a couple big runs per game when we finally do get it right, but we simply can't depend on the run game to be consistent or establish anything. So while the OU run defense is the worst in the league, Texas isn't in a place to really punish them for that besides the few plays where Bijan gets loose unless we suddenly play better. Our passing game should actually be the major advantage against the OU defense. We're decent in pass blocking, and Sark schemes up coverage busts like it's going out of style. The OU defense last week got lost in coverage for giant gains time and time again. The OU corners perform poorly in one-on-one situations, and safeties can lose slots and tight ends over the middle. Regardless if it's Card or Ewers who gets the start, we should see success in the passing game. Now, I've had you watch this entire video to tell you one thing. None of this matters because this rivalry makes no sense. OU is cornered, and I don't think they're going to roll over in this matchup. The better performing team isn't guaranteed to win. That's the beauty of rivalry games because both sides are ready to go to war no matter what the stats say. I'll be there Saturday to watch the battle however it goes down. Thanks for hanging out. Watch some more of my videos here. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to support quality Texas content. As always, hook 'em.